Hello, everybody. What if the world we know is about to flip completely upside down? For decades, the US dollar has been the undisputed king of global trade. It was the safe haven, the default, and the absolute law of markets. But today, the cracks aren't just showing, they are widening into a cannon. Between the rise of the BRICS nations, the explosion of digital currencies, and a massive shift in where the world actually makes things, and we are witnessing the Great De-Dollarization of the planet. Today, we are exploring a radical scenario that most economists won't dare to touch. We are predicting a world where, by the mid-2030s, the Indian rupee doesn't just gain ground, it dominates. We are looking at a future where $1 could equal just 3 rupee. Now I know how that sounds, but stay with me. This isn't just a guess. It is a logical conclusion of massive financial shift. How does this happen? And more importantly, how will it change your business and global balance of power? Let's get into it. De-dollarization is not a conspiracy theory anymore. It has become official policy for some of the world's largest economies. Since 2022, we have seen the weaponization of dollar through global sanctions. This sent a clear message to every major nation: if you don't follow the script, your money can be frozen overnight. This realization has triggered the mBridge revolution. We are moving away from an old SWIFT system and towards central bank digital currencies like the e-Rupee. This allows nations to trade directly with each other, cutting out the middleman and bypass the dollar entirely. But it goes deeper than just technology. The petro-dollar, as we knew it, is dying. When India and UAE settles oil trade in rupee, the very foundation of the dollar demand began to crumble. If the world's energy is no longer priced in dollar, the US loses its primary reason of dominance. At the same time, the massive US national debt is causing a shift in global trust. Investors are moving away from debt-heavy Western nations and looking for productive economies with high growth. And India is sitting right at the top of that list. If the rupee actually reaches the 1:3 ratio with the dollar, the geopolitical landscape transforms immediately. We would see the definitive end of Western hegemony. A 3 rupee dollar means the US can no longer export its inflation to the rest of the world. The era of the American consumer driving the world's economy ends, and it gets replaced by the global East and South. In this new world, Gujarat could rival New York and London as a global financial hub. When your currency is that strong, you become the world's banker. This is the path that leads India to the permanent seat in UN Security Council and allows it to dictate the term of global trade. We will no longer live in a world with a one superpower, but rather a multipolar world with a distinct currency blocks, the rupee zone and much smaller dollar zone. Now for business owners and entrepreneurs, this 1-3 world is a double-edged sword. On one hand, you have the massive winners. Imagine being an importer or a tech company and buying $1,000 MacBook for just 3,000 rupee. For Indian businesses, the cost of raw material, high-tech machines and energy would plummet. The purchasing power of the average Indian consumer would go through the roof, making international travel and global education accessible to the masses, not just the elite. But we have to be realistic about the challenges. This shift would create a massive export shock. Currently, our IT and manufacturing sector rely on a weak rupee to stay competitive on price. If the rupee becomes that strong, our export becomes expensive overnight. This means the Indian businesses have to stop competing on a low cost and start competing on high value. We would have to move from being the world's back office to becoming the world's primary R&D lab. Of course, a shift this massive won't happen without friction. The US won't let go of its extraordinary privilege without a fight. You should experience massive shift in interest rate and new digital trade barrier as the West tries to protect the dollar's status. But whether you believe the 1:3 ratio prediction is a certainty or an outlier, one thing is undeniable. The era of dollar-only dominance is over. The de-dollarization spice is already in the mix and the recipe for the global economy has changed forever. So I want to hear from you. If the dollar falls to 3 rupees, would your business survive or would it thrive? Let's talk about it in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification. We are tracking the future of marketing, AI and global economy right here every week. That's all for today and I will see you in the next one.